and Michael Jankins joining us here at the desk this morning as we're talking about something that a lot of people have on their mind. You see a lot of people talking on TV about consolidating your debts and what the proper way to do this is, and maybe paying some bills off at the same time. But you said there's another way you might be able to do something like this.
Yes, I wanted to talk about Chapter 13 bankruptcy again today. We've spoken about it before, but I've had visits with people lately where they expressed to me the reason they hadn't come in sooner is because they really wanted to pay their bills. They didn't want to take bankruptcy. And I get it. I mean, that's a real common thing. People should want to pay their bills, and that's good motivation. And I said, well, you should have called me. I mean, we can do that for you in another kind of bankruptcy called Chapter 13. And it's really not bankruptcy, at least the way people consider the word bankruptcy. It's another form of bankruptcy.
But you hear Chapter 13 in the news all the time. Somebody's taking Chapter 13 bankruptcy. What exactly is it?
Well, Chapter 13 bankruptcy is an entirely different kind of bankruptcy than what most people understand bankruptcy to be. So you pay your debts back, or at least part of them. And when I ask people, well, why did you go with these companies that settle your debts for 50 cents on the dollar? Isn't that kind of like taking bankruptcy? I mean, you're not paying them in full. And they go, well, but at least we made an effort and paid part of the debt back. Well, that's exactly what you can do in Chapter 13 bankruptcy. You pay part of the debt or all the debt back, so you can feel good about yourself that you tried. And in many cases, we have clients that can pay all their debt back. And there's tools in place that allow you to do this. And you are under the protection of the bankruptcy court while you're doing it. So that's a really strong point, because number one, the creditors can't say, no, we're not into this. We're not going to do it. They can't send you bills. They can't call you on the telephone. They can't sue you in court or garnish your wages. So you can do this in a comfortable way where you can pay a payment each month to the bankruptcy court, and then they take those payments and they divide them out in the appropriate manner. And so everybody's getting paid. All of the interest stops accumulating on the credit card debt from the day you get into the case. And that is another reason that you have a fighting chance to actually pay these debts,
right,
because your money's working on the debt, not just on a bunch of accumulating interest.
So it's kind of a way to get the heat off your back? Is that pretty much it?
It's a great way to get the heat off your back. So if you don't want to walk away from your debt and you don't want to take Chapter 7 bankruptcy, that's great. You can catch up on your debts and pay them in an orderly basis with this Chapter 13. Now, some of our clients come in and they're 2 to 3 payments behind on their car loan, and they're about to lose their car. It's going to get repossessed. But if they act quickly enough and come to see me or talk about this kind of bankruptcy, we can catch up those payments that they've missed in the car in this payment plan that we set up in the court, and then the car is protected. Or we can just have that entire loan paid back along with the credit cards in the bankruptcy, which is a good thing too, because the benefit is that all the money that they're paying in each month is going to go to the car loan first.
Okay.
Or other secured creditors.
Now, is it any kind of car loan that you can use this on?
Well, ideally, if we're going to have a person in a 5-year payment plan,
which
60
seems to be
months,
the norm,
that's the typical one.
Yeah.
We don't want to put a car loan in there that's got 6 years to go, because they're not really gaining a benefit, because then they're paying a car loan that's got 6 years and cramming it into a 5-year repayment. So they actually could be doing themselves some financial harm by doing that. Whereas if they've got 3 years left on their car loan and they're going to be in this 5-year payment program, it's kind of like a refinance, because in effect you improve your cash flow, you're extending the term of that loan, but not really, because all the money you're paying into the Chapter 13 case would be going to Ford Motor Credit if that's your lender. And then all the credit card companies end up waiting for their money, so the car will get paid back quicker. Now, another good thing about the car loan being paid in your Chapter 13 is some of these car loans have kind of bad interest rates. There are some lenders out there, because the person had not so good credit when they got the loan, might be sitting on a rate that's 19%.
Oh.
But when they pay it back in the Chapter 13, they can pay it back at 4.25%, which is excellent.
Okay.
Right.
So they're paying thousands of dollars less back on their car loan if it's paid into Chapter 13, and they get the benefit of extending it out by taking a 5-year loan or a 3-year loan, excuse me, and then extending it out to like it's 5.
Right.
But the car really gets paid off quicker than it would have if they just kept paying for it directly. So that's a really good thing to do. And don't forget, we can put your income taxes into the Chapter 13 and get those paid. We've spoken about that on previous segments. And all of the interest that would go to the IRS or the state of Iowa stops running. All the penalty stops running. So you can keep paying that stuff in an orderly way, and nobody's taking shots at you or garnishing you or coming after you.
Now, if you have a Chapter 13, you apply for a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. When this is all completed, will you still have a bankruptcy mark on your record?
Well, that's an excellent question. It'll still be on your credit report as a form of bankruptcy. It does not stay on your credit report as long as a Chapter 7. But the good thing is, if you pay back at least 70% of your unsecured debt in the Chapter 13, then it won't be treated as a bankruptcy at all for purposes of if you needed to file again someday. Usually, you have to wait 8 years after Chapter 7. But if you paid that back, it wouldn't be counted against you if you needed to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy, let's say 4 years later, because you got in a bad jam. So the options would be available to you. And so you're sort of rewarded by paying back an extensive amount of your debt.
Okay, that's kind of what I was going to ask, along with, does it include student loans? Because I know that's one thing you usually can't touch. Student
loans can't be eliminated by a Chapter 13, and most of the ones we see are really large, so in the Chapter 13, as long as they haven't defaulted, our client can continue to make their loan payment to the student loan agency while they're paying everybody else through the Chapter 13. Now, if the loan was a reasonable amount, $5,000 or $6,000, then it wouldn't be much different than a credit card or the other debts. And sure, then we can put it into the Chapter 13 and have it in with the bunch. But if it's $60,000 or $70,000, it's not practical because it's not intended for those kind of loans to be in the short term. Those loans often will stretch out for 10 or 20 years.
Right. Okay.
Gotcha. All right. Now, if people want more information on this and how to get some help, what's the easiest way to get it?
You can call me at 255-1855. I'm happy to answer your questions on the phone. Or you can find me on the internet at www.iowa-bankruptcylaw.com, and you can see our new website.
Wonderful. We can check that out. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, bud.